This episode of Void Signal is sponsored by Dark Force Fest. Visit darkforcefest.com or search Dark Force Fest anywhere to learn more about America's premier dark music festival experience. You can also find festival-related episodes of Void Signal anywhere podcasts haunt. Well, hello again. This is Brian Prime, and you are listening to Void Signal. This episode features a conversation with Luke Vinland of the band Third Realm. Third Realm itself, founded by Nathan Rayner, has been making dark electronic music since 1999, and Luke is the latest addition to the lineup. Luke himself has carved out a distinct space in the industrial and darkwave scene as sort of a social anchor. He's co-hosting a social gathering game at Dark Force Fest this year on Friday at 5 p.m. in an effort to help socialize people who might need a little assistance in doing so. We talk a little bit about Luke, where he came from, and how he ended up in Third Realm, and what continues to drive him forward. Speaking of Dark Force Fest, come see me for Void Signal Live on Sunday at 1:30 p.m. in the Morris Room. I've got a couple of headliners stopping by to join random teams and help answer questions. I've also got an artist guest category with questions from Mary Catman, Matt Hart, Mortal Realm, and a bunch more. There will be a prize for the winning team. You can also catch me Saturday at 4 p.m. moderating the Rabbit Junk Music and Mental Health panel, and as a guest on the Goth Love Horror panel Sunday night at 6:45. You can say hello to me anytime you see me. I'm very hard to miss because I'm tall and I stick out. I'll be around all over the place for the entire weekend. Say hello, I'll give you a sticker. Before we move on to the discussion with Luke, thank you as always to Processor for providing Void Signal's theme song. You can find more Processor at processor2.bandcamp.com, and most of his catalog is up there for name your price. Johan is a fabulously talented person, and I appreciate his work very much. One last thing before I let you go. Void Signal is ad-free because it's made for the enjoyment of humans. It's people-powered and driven by passion. If you've enjoyed the sound of my voice or an episode of Void Signal, please consider visiting voidsignal.net or patreon.com/voidsignal. It makes a huge difference in helping me to continue to do this. Okay, that's it for now. I hope you're hanging on in grim times. Please stay safe and please stay loud. Until next time, goodbye forever. Yep. Okay, we're rolling. So welcome to Void Signal. I'm Brian Prime. I am joined for this episode by Luke Vinland. I met you at Dark Force Fest a couple years ago. You are in Third Realm. You do community things at Dark Force Fest. You do a whole bunch of other stuff. You make things. So thanks for coming on the show, making this work. How are you? How are things?
I am quite well. Thank you very much for having me, actually.
Could you kind of tell people a little bit about who you are, like what you do?
I was out of the scene for a really, really long time. Once I got back into the scene and I was embraced so well and so heavily, I was like, oh, wow, I need to give back. I just felt like I did. So I did run for a short period of time my own goth night, which was more of a social event in Allentown, Pennsylvania. in Eastern Pennsylvania. And I frequent pretty much every goth night in the Delaware, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey kind of scene. Dark Force, I run a panel for people to meet each other, for new time people, for newcomers, and people maybe came by themselves and want to meet new people. Or if you've been going for years and you're just like, you know what, I've been going with the same people every year, I just want to meet new people. So myself and Joseph Mazzillo run one of the first panels at Dark Force called the Let's Get Dark game. It's a conversation game, which just opens it up and makes it real easy for people to get to know each other, especially if you're someone who's usually introverted and, you know, you feel maybe it's hard for you to open up to other people. We've had tremendous response from our panel last year, and it looks like we may be doing that again. So that's good. I do play in Third Realm, so that's fun getting to go around with those guys and bring joy through music to people, because that's pretty much what I need. So I like to be able to give that to other people. I started a production company to run large, very large goth events and alt events. That's super recent. Actually, you're the first person to hear about this. So we're doing a production company now where we'll be running goth balls, masquerade balls, vampire ball, a lot of balls. We just did Blood Bank, which was our inaugural event in Easton, Pennsylvania. Sold out 400 tickets, and Third Realm played the event. So I like to do that. And generally I try to do everything with either as taking as little as I can or nothing at all. I do pretty much everything I can for free, just so that it's easily accessible for people. No barrier to entry. You want to come out, you want to have a good time and be around like-minded people. I want to provide that.
Someone said to me years ago that the things that were cool when we were young are the things that we have to build now for the next generation to be able to appreciate. I am glad that you share the mentality of low barrier to entry, and just like myself, you know, Void Signal is ad free. I just want to do this for the people's entertainment and pleasure and whatever. So I can definitely get behind your reasoning for doing it. That's exciting, doing events. What kind of stuff do you have planned? Can you talk a little bit about that?
I can't talk about the details of the bands or the performers who will be at the next event. We had at our Blood Bank event, like I said, Third Realm played actually like an hour and a half long set. We had DJ Brad Scott actually, and the DJ Stygian, who are local to us and great promoters and great DJs. They played for us the entire evening. We had Madam X come out and perform Vampire Ritual, which was fantastic and really a good way to get people into kind of a themed event like that. We had a kind of burlesque-esque performance as well from the daughter of my business partner in the new venture for goth themed events. Emmy, she came in and did entertain the crowd. So we're trying to throw that kind of extra stuff in there. Our next event we are hoping is going to be an 80s themed goth prom. And we've seen a lot and we've heard about a lot, and we're going to try to go even further with it. So it's going to be the most 80s gothy, ridiculous, perhaps even some horror elements, who knows, prom around. So that'll be pretty awesome. And then we are going to be, hopefully, if everything works out well, performing or holding a masquerade ball later in the year as well, and a traditional masquerade ball around Halloween. So we'll see if that works out. Details will be available as soon as they're able to be available.
Nice. And you mentioned doing the panel at Dark Force to try and get people, newcomers, to meet each other. You mentioned a conversation game. What does that look like, and how does that work?
Well, at one of my socials, they're defunct now, unfortunately. I held my socials at a distillery a friend of mine owned, which was Gallows Hill Distillery. It was a witch-themed distillery. From the owner was one of the last survivors of the last person who was hung in the Salem witch trials. And basically I was like, I need to do something with you. So we would hold this night every month where I always tried to give a different theme. And 1 month we did a board game theme. So someone brought in a game which was for people on like a first date or something like that to get to know each other. And 5 minutes in, I was telling people my darkest secrets. And at that point, I was like, oh, this is a thing. So Joe Mazzillo and I actually reworked it into a goth themed get to know each other, not for dating purposes, just completely casual, get to know some cool people really quickly. And you can be as silly as you want or as serious as you want to be. So what we do is we have people come in, separate them into groups, and the groups change every 10 minutes or so. And we give you topics. You pull from 3 separate decks of cards, like a sinister deck with really invasive questions, kind of a more mild deck, a chill deck, and then a dark deck, which is your standard kind of goth questions. And then you kind of explain why you choose one or the other, or what's your darkest secret, that kind of thing. And what you're getting to do is kind of, you're meeting new people, you're immediately kind of exposing yourself a little bit to them, but you don't have to think about what to say. We're giving you a topic, and it's completely random. And each section has its own questions, so you won't run into the same questions over and over again. And at that point, you can be, I think, a little bit more yourself. And if you have questions like, I don't know how to answer this, like someone said last year, I don't know how to answer this question. The question is, what is goth to me? And I said, that's cool. And I got on the microphone and I said, someone over here just asked the question, what is goth to me? And I answered, it's community. It is the people I want to be around. It is the people that I hope are like-minded to me without even asking. It's the community that I want to serve, that kind of thing. And then they just rambled off for 5 minutes on what goth meant to them. So it's a game. It's no winners other than meeting people. And I've seen people who were completely closed off, who just decided to give it a chance, open themselves up and then come up to me on Sunday and be like, I was talking to people all weekend. That was amazing. I met them at your panel. I want to do that again. That was so cool. And I was just, wow, okay, great. Thank you very much. So very, very proud moment.
I had that experience last year of, somebody was like, you put me on a random team for trivia, and I hung out with those people the rest of the festival. And, I like bringing people together because at least for me and for probably a lot of the people in our scene, and sounds like you too in your past somewhere, we're all awkward, neurodivergent people who maybe don't always want to talk or communicate or, have too much eye contact or whatever. So I can definitely appreciate having some context for why I'm talking to someone, right? Because I was a person who was a wallflower for much of my life and just, I don't know how to engage. I don't know how to strike up conversation. And having someone sort of do that for you kind of does a lot of the heavy lifting, I feel.
For me, it's funny because Luke Vinland is the face I put on to be that person. In general life, if I'm at the supermarket and someone asks, hey, can I help you? That can ruin my day. I'm sorry. I know you're just trying to be nice, but I am very closed off. And if someone that I don't know starts talking to me, it's very difficult for me to deal with. Whereas at Dark Force, I will put on my performer face and I'm out there to promote the band. I'm out there to promote our event and my future events. And I feel like that's the person I want to be. And I put that face on. And once I do, I become a different person. So there is that kind of duality and a bit of an issue sometimes where people will contact me afterward and they'll start messaging me very constantly or we'll be talking readily. And then all of a sudden I'll shut down and they think they did something wrong. And, we're all like that. But that game really, I think, helps to open people up and kind of keeps them open to those relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. And I find there are times that I have to step away and go be by myself outside and, sort of be in my own head for a time and sort of take the mask off, I guess, get some air and okay, I'm going to recharge the social battery and then I'm going to put the mask back on and go back in there and do whatever, be a personality, be a character.
Yeah. And I appreciate that because just my love of 80s bands. When I was growing up, I was like, this would be my name if I was in an 80s band, and this is what I would do. And this was but then I always thought to myself, but back at the hotel room, I'd be making sure no one was getting too rowdy and no one smashed my TV and no one threw anything out the hotel window. I was always they call me the Vampa because like I was the old guy in the group who was like, is everyone okay? Do you need help? Like, how can I? So for me, yeah, kind of portray or give off this kind of like, I'm down for anything, let's just party kind of vibe when I'm on, but I'm mostly off.
Okay. I think by contrast, not to talk about myself too much, but I feel like I'm mostly on with small periods where I need to just go be off for a time. My natural state is just sort of like dog energy. Like, oh, I'm so excited. New person. Hello. Like, let me see what's going on. And but you did touch on something in your first answer of wanting to give back. And you kind of touched on your thoughts of goth and community. Could you just tell me a little bit about sort of what you mean by that?
So when I was younger, I was one of the goth kids. We hung out at the corner at the high school, and it was kind of weird for me because I've always been, I'm Puerto Rican, so just one right off minority. And then I was a goth kid, so, another minority. So even within my group, I was, a minority and a minority. But they always accepted me and had no problem with me. And there was other minorities within the group. And I was a public school in a big city. So that's what we were going to experience. When I got in my 20s, it was mostly about work, and maybe hit the bar. And then in my 30s, I stopped going to goth clubs, anything goth related. I just stayed home for 10 years. And then what ended up happening was I invited a bunch of people to an event. Nobody showed up, and it didn't really bug me, at least for a while. And then like about a month later, I was just like, I just crashed. I was like, wow, I try to always be there, do all these things for people and that kind of stuff. And I just kind of got a little weird and in my own head about the fact that like at the time it seemed like nobody was coming out and or there to support me. And I know it was just in my head, but that's how we all are. So I shut myself off for 18 months and I didn't talk to anyone whom it was not totally necessary to my day-to-day existence to speak to. And at the end of that 18 months, I was like, I'm going to go out for my birthday. As I never do anything for my birthday. I don't celebrate it, but I'm home alone. I'm friends with some new people, from work and whatnot. Let's do something. And they all canceled. They were like, no, let's not do anything. So I went on Facebook and a friend of mine who is a karaoke DJ said, hey, come out to Gallows, where I held my goth events. And after karaoke at Gallows, we're going to go to our local club night, Coven, run by DJ Brad Scott in Easton. And I was like, oh, there's a goth night over there in Easton that I haven't been to. Let me check it out. And I mean, that was 4 years ago at this point, and that night changed my entire life, the course of everything I was doing. I went, I was accepted, I immediately felt just love for no reason. People were just like, oh, thanks for coming in and enjoying this with us. And I definitely had not felt anything that open and easy in 10 years. So it was insane. I didn't know what to do with it.
Right.
I was like, oh, this is what this is. This is what these people are willing to give, just friendship and be nice for no reason. Let me see if there's any more of this to be had. So I started going to other club nights and I just went crazy and I just went to everything I could possibly go to. And everywhere I went, everyone was just amazing. And I was like, this just doesn't make sense. When does the bottom fall out of this? And I, for about a year, just went to every night I could. I was going to Dark Force, but even my first Dark Force, I hung out with one friend and didn't talk to anybody. And I was kind of just to myself. And it was just, or I guess at that time it was Dark Side. But that first year was a really good turning point. And I felt so good that I changed almost everything in my life. I was 240 pounds and just not feeling great. And now I was experiencing all this new community. And I was like, you know what? I love this fashion. I love this music. I want to be better at everything. And for about 3 years, I focused on fashion. I focused on working out and getting myself healthy so that I could wear the fashions that I saw and I liked and I could represent it well. And that's when I I lost 90 pounds and I've kept it off the entire time. And that's mostly through dancing at the clubs and everything and working out at home. And it's just, I'm looking at it like year by year. Every year it was, okay, Dark Force is getting better. The clubs are getting more packed and we're seeing more and more people. More and more people are just opening themselves up to everyone and just being like, hey, I'm this person. Let's be friends. The community was driving me insane. I was like, this is too much. When does this end? And it just didn't. So I said, these people helped me realize I was worth more than I thought I was for a really long time. And I keep seeing them struggle with different things, whether it was financial struggles or political struggles, family struggles. I knew that I felt good when I went out. I was good when I was with those people. So I wanted to give them the same thing more often. And that's when I said, I need to do stuff like a goth social, not a club night, just come out, we'll play board games, come out, we'll watch a movie, come out, we'll do this. And every month was a different event to give people something different to do, a more of an opportunity to be with the people you want to be with, but not just, yelling over music or having to sit there at the bar and, drink minimums and anything like that. Just come out, be one with us. We'll have a good time. And it's just the response has been insane. Everything good that's been happening to me, all the opportunities I've gotten have been really just from staying positive and trying to give back. So like I said, the community saved my life. And this community really not only turned my life around, gave me completely new opportunities I never thought I'd have. And, essentially it just look at the difference in who I am now from then. It's insane.
What's interesting to me about what you said and just sort of putting together a timeline for this. So you mentioned kind of getting out of the scene a little bit and feeling disconnected from it for a time and then returning to it, assuming post-pandemic. And you were very changed and perhaps the world was very changed at that point. How much of a factor do you think that was on your experience?
It's interesting because it wasn't necessarily post-pandemic. I had been going since Dark Side 2 and that was pre-pandemic. I think it was actually, I can't remember which year it was where it was actually, I guess, canceled until the next year because of the pandemic. It was that first year and they were like, you know what, too much is coming out. So it was like probably 2 years I had already been kind of back in the scene when the pandemic itself happened. And then they canceled that year. I would say that first year when I got back in, it was me kind of just dipping my toe in. Again, I went to Dark Side and I went to some clubs and I still mostly hung out by myself. I didn't have it in me yet to open myself up to people and talk to anyone. So I would just go to clubs by myself and just kind of chill in the back, enjoy the night, slink out, not say goodbye to anybody, but just not say anything. And, maybe every now and then I would compliment somebody on what they were wearing and, where'd you get that? I think that's cool. Did someone make that for you? That kind of thing. After the pandemic, I definitely did notice a change in that it seemed like people were way more selective in what it was they wanted to do or give their time to. Everyone was like crazy. Let's go to every event. Let's go to everything. And everything was packed. But that waned pretty quickly. It felt like the clubs got packed really quick and then all of a sudden it kind of dropped off. And that's when I said, okay, maybe I need to run a goth night where other things are going on because my goth nights were early. People who couldn't afford to be out at Fridays, Thursdays, Saturdays till 2 a.m. could at least come out and still spend time with us. So I saw a whole different group of people come out. And I think that was the weird thing to me because I was like, oh my, there's all these people in our community who don't go to the club who are coming out to my events. And I'm telling them, hey, come to the club with us. And they're like, no, this is cool for us. And so I was seeing many different subcultures within our subculture, just some older people, some younger people, everything, just very introverted people who only wanted to play board games. So they'd come out every time we were doing a board game thing. And I was like, wow, we're really everywhere. We're all over the spectrum, speaking just kind of to what we enjoy. So if I did a movie night, I knew certain people would always be there for a movie night, so it was kind of strange. I think people realized after the pandemic that there were things available for them to do, and they were allowed to be more selective about it. They didn't feel forced to be like, for you to be my friend, I have to go to the club this month and sit in a corner and not dance and blah, 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 but we'll still be no, people, you're my friend, whether I talk to you every 6 months or not. And if you're doing something fun that I want to do, we're going to go do it together. So I enjoy that because I get into everything. So I get to see so many different people every month at different places doing different things that I don't see anywhere else. Just like, oh, hey, we're at this movie theater together because it's a special movie night for us. They're doing a special screening of The Crow this month or something. It's like, I know exactly who's going to be there. Somebody I haven't seen in 6 months. So I'm happy that people now feel comfortable and they don't seem to have to defend themselves when they only want to do one or two things.
Right. Sure.
But they're still a member of the community. People aren't shaming them for not going to the club every month.
Yeah, I think that's important because at least for me, as somebody who has not done it nearly as much as you, but, I've put together a night a couple of times and sometimes and I've been to plenty of local things where I have that feeling of like, where is everybody? And I think it's incredibly important to not ever take that personally because everybody's got their own stuff going on and you don't know the reasons.
Well, I have a rule about that now. My new rule is make it to what you can make it to. I won't hold it against you. So there were plenty of my own goth nights where there were very few people that showed up. But the people that showed up knew I had appreciated that they did, and I spent time with them, and we talked all night and everything. There are people who are well-known, quote unquote, at our, let's say, local club who come out once or twice a year. It's just... you're still going to be welcome. So yeah, it is kind of, I think some people take it more tough than others. And I don't hold it against you if you don't make it to anything I do. That's perfectly fine with me. We're still friends. I still love you. Not an issue with me. If you never make it out to anything, but you send me a text saying, hey, hope it goes well. Love you. Thank you very much for that.
I like that mentality and that mindset because I've adopted it a lot myself for, I've had a lot of people tell me like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't listen to the podcast. I don't care. Like, it doesn't bother me. Like, I'm never going to take it personally because, it's whatever. People are busy and you don't want to listen to podcasts. I don't care. It's not a reflection on me or you or our friendship or anything. So, yeah, I think it's important to just not take things personally and just let it slide. Tell me a little bit about how you got involved with Mortal Realm and being in a band.
Third Realm.
Not Mortal Realm. Much love to Adam Jones, but absolutely. Third Realm. Third
Realm's pretty funny. I don't know if it's a short story. I don't know if I've actually told it.
Can you suggest to the other members of Third Realm I would love Third Realm and Mortal Realm to do a cover of the Mortal Kombat theme, and we'll just really, really double down on it.
So Mortal Realm X3 Mortal Kombat theme.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how well that's going to go over, but I have no problem suggesting it. As far as how I got in the band, that's really weird. So I've been in the music essentially forever. I was the kid in school, in I guess middle school going into high school, that would burn Napster CDs for people. I think that's past the statute of limitations, so I can say that now. So I was providing super cheap CDs to everybody. And that was like a thing. And then I released, when I was really young, a really silly techno album that I had put together with samples that I'd collected from around the internet. That kind of was the bug that really got me going, which I still have to this day, and I share with people on a one-on-one basis. I picked up guitar, and I was actually, I know I said I was in the goth group at school, but I probably at the time I didn't really think of goth as goth, and I thought of it all alternative culture. So I was more a metalhead, I guess you might say. I listened to lots of heavy metal and power metal and operatic metal and symphonic metal and black metal, which is probably my favorite genre of music. And so I listened to just a lot of that stuff, and I just thought it was all kind of the same thing. I never really differentiated. It didn't matter to me. Kind of still doesn't matter to me. And I just learned to play guitar when I was younger and I was in a bunch of little small bands that didn't go anywhere or anything like that. And then as I got older and I got more into like Typo Negative and that kind of thing, I was like, oh, I need to make this. So I was in a band that made this, it kind of sounded like Typo. And, stuff was fun, but it's hard to work with other people, not that I don't love them. It's just, everyone has their own life. So I just kind of gave it up. And that fell into the whole point of which I was just going to work. And I love my job. I was going to work and just kind of focusing on that and not much of anything else, because for the time it was artistic and it was fulfilling, and that's all I needed. But Third Realm was playing, actually, and they were on the second stage, and something happened with the lighting, I guess, previous to them. And I think it all like shut off. So when I went to see Third Realm, I was just like, oh, this is weird. I can't see Nathan. That's fine, I guess. I know what he looks like. So it was just weird. It stuck in my head. So the next day, I think it was like Saturday, I was just walking around the event and I saw him and I said, hey, I checked out, your set. It was a great set, but I couldn't see you. And he's like, oh, yeah, there was a little bit of an issue. And this explaining to me, it's no big deal. And that was it. And then the next day, I was walking around with a friend of mine and he walked up to me and was like, hey, I found out what happened with the lighting. This is what the issue was. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. They figured it out. They got it all worked out. And that was it. And then I went home, and about a week later, I just had like a friend's request from Nathan. And it was this, I guess, he's a very personable person. So he, will friend you after talking to you for 2 seconds. So he friended me and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. The guy from Third Realm friended me. And then we just randomly would start talking to each other like once every 6 months. And I'd run into him at events because we were going to the same concerts and club things and that kind of stuff. And it was actually at the Undead of Winter 2025. That was in February of 2025. We were at the Undead of Winter and, he was like, hey, we're having a party at the hotel or whatever, you want to join. So we had been friends for a little while, just talking on the internet and all that kind of thing. So we hung out the year before then too. So we had hung out in person. But we're there, and I said to him, I was like, hey, I heard a friend of mine got a copy of your album before it came out. How do I get to hear that? And he's like, oh, I'll send it to you or whatever. And I was like, okay, cool. Maybe I'll put together my demo. And he's like, your demo? It's like, oh, yeah, I'm a musician. He had no idea for years. So it was like, oh, yeah. So I just was like, okay. And I play up the cowboy goth quite a bit, as I dress rather dapper cowboy. And I told him that's not a joke. I grew up on a pig farm in Puerto Rico every summer. So like, not that I was a cowboy per se, but no, I know farm work and I know being out there in the heat and the sun and everything. And so I was like, I like country music, not all country music, but I like that kind of the darker stuff. And that's kind of what my music is. It's dark folk and that kind of thing. But I also make metal and goth metal and that kind of stuff. So I just send them a demo reel of a bunch of different things that had straight up metal on it. It had my old band, which was goth metal. It had me doing just coffee shop stuff. And basically he heard it. He's like, I had no idea you did this stuff. We should play together. I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, we can come up with something, let's talk about it. He's like, no, you should play in Third Realm. I was like, oh, okay. Maybe someday. And he's like, okay, well, after what I heard, I don't care if it's 5 or 6 years. Whenever you're ready, you let me know. And someone joking around said, we're a goth boy band and we're the Eyeliner Boys. And I was like, yeah, we're the Eyeliner Boys. And then Nathan just joked around and said, no, this is Third Realm. This is the future lineup of Third Realm. So Sunday, or I guess Monday morning, actually. So the festival's over. We're all hanging out back at my hotel room and everything. And I just looked at him and said, if you want me to be in your band, I'll be in your band. And he's like, yeah, sounds cool. That's exactly what we've been talking about. So about a week later, I sent him just a demo of, I think it was Lives of the Nation and Dance Like You Want to Die, just me playing guitar over it. And he's like, oh, this has legs. This is the thing. This is what we need to do. And as soon as I heard him say that he was so excited about the way he heard it, I was like, okay, I'm in. And that was literally it. It was years in the making and then kind of just happenstance, but organic, which is the best way for it to have gone. And the fact that like I shared that little recording I had made of me playing over the music with a couple of people, and everyone that heard it was like, oh yeah, this is what it needs. So it was really fun.
I feel like very rarely in our lives do we get to experience a thing that comes so naturally and easy that it can feel like cheating or maybe meant to be. I mean, I hate to use those words because the world is chaos, but sometimes it does sort of feel that way. And I feel like if you are charting a path for yourself that's sort of authentic, good things will usually kind of fall into place for that. I feel like it will lead you to things that, are good for you.
I agree in a level that I don't think you possibly could understand. It's true. I was not a great person for a very long time. I was bitter. I just was not a great person. And I guess now it'd be referred to as the shadow work. And I kind of just looked and I was like, why am I like this? And tried to make changes. And I actively did make changes. And I found philosophy as a thought process. And once I started studying philosophy, I said to myself, okay, I'm not the only person who's not only ever had these problems. It took about a year of really getting into philosophy. And I just kind of woke up one day and I was a completely different human being. And the weird part about it is, like, from that day, everything changed. And so many opportunities opened up, and it was just a positive mindset. I'm not any different. I'm still brooding, I still gloom and doom all the time, but I can find my way out of it now and be a happy person. I tell people all the time, don't tell me you want something. It's a dumb little thing, but like if you're like, man, pancakes sound good, I'm going to do my damnedest to find you pancakes right now. So you have to preface everything with I don't want pancakes right now, but man, pancakes sound good right now. Like, where I have to intervene. I have to try to help, which before wasn't a part of me, but because so many people help me out, I just feel like I just need to repay everything I hear. It's a weird mental state, but it's helped me so much and it's given me so many opportunities.
Having gone through a lot of changes myself, a weight loss, being plugged into a community, becoming involved in a scene, growing meaningful friendships that turn out, wonderful. I can appreciate all of those experiences as well. And man, it is so important to sort of overcome the discomfort of, just being who I used to be. That person, I wouldn't hang out with him. If I met my former self of a few years ago, I didn't have my shit figured out. But now, having grown a bit and I do sort of feel that kind of a caretaker kind of a mentality of like, hey, let's make sure this community stays together. And if I can be some of the glue that makes that happen because somebody felt welcomed or seen or heard or whatever, cool, great. It costs me nothing to do that for a person. And there's been plenty of times myself where I was like, all I needed was just a person to listen to me. So it seems like so easy to give back, I guess.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt at all. If you need some of it, reach out. I will talk to you. As long as you respect it. And that's literally the rule. If you respect my time, where I work doesn't give me a lot of time to help out as much as I would like. But yeah, if you respect my time, I will respect everything about you and we'll be good. And I will help you out. I've tried to mentor people. I'm actively still mentoring some people and kind of how to be alternative in the work scene and, just kind of deal with people. And I deal with a very conservative group all the time, every day. I try to help in completely unseen related ways with seen people. I have people reaching out to me all the time with my weight loss, or they'll see me at like a club or something. And that, like I said, I lost 90 pounds and now I'm not afraid to wear mesh out or, just like be out there. And people like they'll never have imagined that I looked the way I did before. I mean, the pictures are out there, but it's not like they're hidden. And then they'll ask me, how'd you get there? And I'm like, well, diet and exercise and hard work. And they're like, well, can you help me? I was like, yes, and I will help and coach you. And, so I try to give back in any way that I can.
I'm no expert, but I can give you my expertise and I can tell you what worked for me, and hopefully it works for you too. If not, I hope you find what does. Change for me myself, just talk about feeling like a different person, was like feeling confident enough in my own body to be like, I'm going to just wear a t-shirt and, go to this event instead of feeling the need to put on layers and cover up and, hide myself away. That was a very transformative sort of a feeling that you must have gone through as well from the sound of it.
It did take a little while. I did it in a very unhealthy way, and I had very fast and addicting results, but I have since maintained it in a very healthy way. And that's the way I try to coach people, is if you're going to listen to me, you got to listen to me, and you're going to do it in a healthy way, because I made a lot of mistakes and I don't want you to make those same mistakes. As far as locally for me, our kind of tri-state scene is just so positive, and it what I mean by positive, like body positive and everything, it's like we don't, I don't see any shaming, I don't see anything that concerns me. Is it come as you are, and if you're willing to put yourself out there, we are going to love you. And I hear it's not that way everywhere, and I wish everyone could experience what we have.
I can't say that I've ever seen or experienced that myself, but people who are that way, who might judge people for what they're wearing or their body or whatever, those people can fuck off, because that's not who I want in my scene anyway. Either that, or maybe they just need to grow in a way that they don't realize, of just I try to give people the benefit of doubt, even after they've sort of proven themselves to be rotten, maybe at times, and sometimes people disappoint you, but you can be surprised.
I don't know if I can be surprised anymore.
Okay.
That being said, I don't want people to die early. I don't want you to have problems you could avoid. I won't ever push myself in your path. I won't ever be like, hey, unless you're actively doing some substance or something that you really need to stop right now. But if you're comfortable in yourself and everything like that, I'm happy for you. Good for you. Go for it. If people reach out to me kind of on a side note and they're like, hey, I portray this, but really I'd like to get here or whatever, I'll never divulge that confidence, and I will help you as much as I can.
I don't want to keep you too long. I will go ahead and hit you with the last question of the show, which is just, what is something that you have been enjoying recently? And your answer can be anything: book, movie, TV show. Just what's something that you wake up and are excited about?
Oh, my interests change very rapidly. Right now, Claire Obscure, Expedition 33, indie, or not indie, but AA game that has just absolutely friggin' captured my mind. I can't do anything but think about that game right now. So I've been playing some role-playing games. I've always been a gamer. It was a way for a short, not short, I don't know, let me say overweight kid to kind of comfort himself. I would stay at home. I'd play games, I'd, do that kind of thing. I haven't lost that part of it. So when I'm sitting at home, I'm in my head, well, I'm going to play a game. I'm going to put a game on, and I'm just going to not think. I'm just going to experience their story, so I don't have to experience my own. Claire Obscure, that game is awesome. I refused to play it for so long just because I'm like the rest of us, and, it's popular. I don't want to have anything to do with it. But now I'm like, okay, fine, I'll play it. And it's fantastic. That, and just kind of deciding recently, actually, literally on the drive home today, that I'm going to start working on my own album again. That has been something that for a year, I have lots of songs. I just don't, I release them to individual people that I think will appreciate them, but I don't release them out wide. And so many varied things. I do gothabilly, I do rock, I do metal, I do folk, a lot of folk actually, country, dark country or gothic country. And I think I'm just going to narrow it down and actually finally get something out.
On that note, quick question. You mentioned being into metal for a time. Have you heard Nurgle from Behemoth has a side project called Me and That Man. Have you heard?
Oh, I know Me and That Man very well.
Okay, just making sure. Because that seemed like a very Luke Vinland, like,
totally a Luke Vinland thing. I think a couple of years ago, Nurgle was, or I should say Behemoth, was playing a nationwide tour. I'm pretty sure I took the picture of the whole tour, which was just, I'll post it on my social media at some point if I haven't already. It's just Nurgle up there with his tongue out, with his guitar and everything, and it fucking looked awesome. And the whole time I'm there, I'm like, damn, I wish this was Me and That Man. So yeah, I do like dark country. I do like that dark folk kind of thing, and I definitely know who they are. I'd say right now, I would say Zeal and Ardor.
Fuck yeah.
Is, oh man, Zeal and Ardor. I put that on and I will transport time. Like, I have an hour drive home from work every day, or I have an hour drive there and home. If I put Zeal and Ardor on, I'm home before I know it. And I'm like, I didn't get to hear enough.
Yeah.
I've seen them live, and oh man, the experience was as close to a religious experience as I think I'm ever going to have. It was just absolutely insane. And that's the kind of thing where I was like, I'm not going to be able to do this. So I need to make my stuff way simpler because I can't shoot for this star. But yeah, like that kind of thing, that kind of like dark folk kind of groove.
And that is such a band that, like, man, all the chemicals in the pot interacted just so to just like make magic, and just nothing is wasted. It is powerful, and man, I discovered them a few years ago, and just like fucking incredible. Such a wonderful blend of style, and man, yeah, great choice. What have I been enjoying recently? I always like am stumped. Like, I know I'm gonna ask this every time, but I'm always like, oh, what do I even enjoy?
Does it count if you know ahead of time? It's better that you don't know before you ask the question. I've
been enjoying just sort of watching films, I think is my answer. Like, I'm a big horror movie buff, and I like watching, art housey kind of movies at times, and I like discussing film and like the themes on offer and so on. So I've been enjoying watching movies a lot lately.
Can I mention something on that real quick?
Yeah, of course.
I actually don't know how to say this because this, like, I immediately lose all goth credibility whenever I say this, but like, I'm not a horror movie guy. I watch a romantic comedy, a slapstick comedy. Like, I'm a comedy guy. I love comedy. Carlin's my hero, like, hands down, without a doubt. And I like dramas and suspense thrillers and everything, but horror, no, not so much. And then someone kind of special to me recently mentioned the Incident in a Ghostland movie, and I was
Nicolas Cage movie?
No, not a Nicolas Cage movie. I have no idea like who the production company behind it, but Incident in a Ghostland, and I was like, okay, you know what? This comes highly recommended. I checked out a couple of other sources. Everybody says this is good. I'll go and watch it, and I watched it, and I was like, this movie's messed up on a lot of levels. And like, my favorite movie in the world, I won't even mention it here because when people hear it and they watch the movie, they're like, what's wrong with you? Because I used to be into really messed up movies. I watched that movie and I'm like, ooh, I got to watch this again. And it rekindled me wanting to watch horror movies. So if you got recommendations for me, shoot them over to me. I want good story. I want really good cinematography, something really good about it. But man, I'm really back into horror now. So
nice.
It's kind of an interesting thing.
Yeah, I'm not a comedy person. Like, it is so difficult for me to sit and watch a comedy movie or TV show or anything. And it's not because I'm like some humorless bastard or anything. I just generally, jokes feel very contrived, and it's hard for me to just let myself enjoy it. But horror, I like my slasher stuff from time to time. But for the most part, like, my favorites are all the ones that are going to be thought-provoking in some way. Maybe viewed through a certain lens is going to have something intellectually stimulating on offer. So I will make a couple of suggestions. I'll send them over to you after this. But
yes,
yeah, I like stuff that, challenges me as the viewer a little bit, of like, when the credits roll, how do you feel about this? And man, I'm such a fan of that. Really good, really powerful stuff.
So then when this gets posted, or you do the social media link post for it, I'll send you a link to a movie, and then you could just put in the comments what you thought of that movie. So there'll be a full circle coming around of you hearing about a movie, you seeing the movie, and you commenting on the movie.
Yeah, please do. I'm interested. On that note, have you seen Beau is Afraid?
I've never even heard of this.
Okay. Familiar with Ari Aster, the filmmaker, at all?
I think so.
Okay.
I've seen Hereditary.
So did a movie, Beau is Afraid, which is a sort of anxiety horror about Joaquin Phoenix and his overbearing mother. And it made me so uneasy. And like, I've only seen it twice. And as soon as it was over, I had to go to bed. I just was like, oop, totally overwhelmed, anxiety through the roof. I need to go sleep.
Ashwagandha.
Yeah, definitely check it out.
Ashwagandha. That'll help you with that anxiety.
But yeah, that's what I would recommend. Give it a try and see what you think.
Absolutely.
You mentioned music, and it always feels prudent. Like whenever I ask this question to people, people usually will mention like, this thing, but also a band, because this is a music podcast after all. Thing I've been enjoying musically recently has just been there's a band from Sacramento called Holy Water, and sort of a Nine Inch Nails, Depeche Mode, post-punky kind of thing. Like the album kind of dances in between those. Like he's like metal dad. Like he's like got the leather jacket and the big sunglasses, and he like, bald head, and it looks like he's gonna come out, and he used to be in like punk bands and hardcore bands and stuff, but he comes out and does like sad boy shit, like a really good Cure cover, like a fantastic cover of Love Song, and
good stuff.
Just really sells it, and fuck, he's so amazing. His most recent record is just like a must listen. It's like wall to wall, like good stuff.
I would have to say, so the closest thing I found to every genre in one style of music that I like is occult rock. So I know that they're very divisive, but the band Ghost, I'm actually not talking about Ghost. I'm just bringing them up because most people understand that that's occult rock. It's not necessarily metal. It's not regular rock. It's occult rock. I actually have okay, I'll admit it. There's a place in my house where I have all the ghost masks and all the ghost bobbleheads and all that kind of stuff on top of one of my amplifiers. It's a little spot that is special to me. But the band that I think exemplifies the genre of occult rock the most actually released an album just the last year, which is Year of the Goat. And I talk about them as much as I can to everyone who's willing to listen. Year of the Goat is just unbelievable. It's prog rock, it's occult rock, it's death rock, it's all these things mixed together, and is, I believe, Scandinavian band. Like it was like, who knew? They're really rocking it out there, and they just released an album last year. They're amazing. The guitar work, the drums, everything, the way they put everything together is just next level. So when people are like, "Oh, I don't like Ghost," it's Scooby-Doo chase music. I'm like, okay, that's fine. You don't have to listen
hilarious.
To Scooby-Doo chase music. You can listen to Year of the Goat and hear what occult rock is supposed to be. And I hate to say that, but I mean, this Year of the Goat is just amazing.
Okay, I'm going to check it out based on that recommendation, because I am not a fan of Ghost.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, I don't care if you show up, do what you can do, and show up to what you can show up to. And I've said this for years, and it makes people so angry, is the like what you like.
Like what you like, because I may not like it, and you may not like what I like, and I don't care.
Yep.
Like, that's totally fine.
I'll still love you. I have no problem with that. Just like what you like.
Bands that I maybe don't get or are just not for me, and that's fine, because people can love them and be crazy about them, but man, Sleep Token, I don't get it.
I haven't listened to a lot of Sleep Token. I don't get it either. Yeah, when I hear it, I don't have any problem with it. The problem is, like, you hear something and it doesn't bring you back. So Sleep Token to me sounds like what I describe post-black metal as. And I just like other post-black metal bands better. And I don't know if that's what Sleep Token is supposed to be or what they are. I have nothing against them at all. My philosophy when it comes to music is, if you're making people happy and they're buying tickets to your show, and this when people are like, "Oh, you like Ghost or whatever," I'm like, are they making people happy? Are they playing music and making money and making a living? And yes, all those things. So how can you be mad at that? Just turn the channel or don't listen or whatever. It's the same kind of thing with like Sleep Token. So I probably do need to sit down and actually give them a good listen. But halfway through a Sleep Token song, I'm like, I'm going to put on Neo Obliviscaris and I'm just going to listen to some prog death metal and with a violin and a beautiful singer, and I'm going to be happy. So a lot of times that's what happens to me is I fall into the music pasta, kind of like, oh, I heard one note of one song and it made me think of a song I heard 25 years ago. And then I listen to that and I'm like, well, what's that guy doing now? Oh, he's in another song, he's in another band 25 years later. And I'll go down 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon on every band. And I was like, how did this start? It's been 3 months and I'm now into this band I've never thought I'd be into. Oh, because I listened to Sleep Token 3 months ago. And that'll happen to me all the time. Like I have music ADHD or whatever it is.
Yes, I definitely do. I'm preparing a set list for this Friday night and I'm just like down the rabbit hole of just like, this song. And then hours pass and I'm like, I've added nothing to my set list because I was listening to whatever, trying to decide this one thing. And Sleep Token is a band that like, I want people to love things and I want them to love them as hard as they can. And the people who, there's worse things to love in the world. Like,
absolutely.
I'm all for people being into bands that at least have artistic things to present and, good branding and so on.
Okay. I don't want to hold on to you, but I have a point to make on that.
Yeah, please.
But within our scene, Nightmare Before Christmas is probably, possibly considered like our holiday movie.
Sure.
Right. So we all love Danny Elfman, right? So why is it when I play Dead Man's Party at a goth night, it's a big deal? All of a sudden people are like, is this a goth song?
Out there?
Oh,
honestly,
yeah.
Okay, because here in Reno, like the local goth night, like sometimes they'll just play Dead Man's Party and like everybody goes fucking wild.
No.
You need to come to Reno is what I'm hearing. Like,
so no, it's just one of those things where I hear that and I'm just like, can we all just get along? Like, where's the problem?
Yeah, and that's a great song anyway. It's a fucking banger. Similarly, the only thing I've experienced quite like that is like, industrial adjacent stuff. Like I played some Devo and I just like, I love me some Devo, but just like that connection doesn't quite land for other people.
It's crazy how deep the Devo goes, which I didn't know until have you ever read the book Ready Player One?
Not read all of it, read about half of it.
I've read it about 18, 25, 30 times. Like whenever I'm in a bad mood, it's reread. And then I found the audiobook and I'm like, oh God, this is bad. So it gets reread, it gets listened to. I am a fanatic for it. And you'll talk about all the old bands and everything. And they'll talk about like They Might Be Giants and Devo and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, why aren't we just more musically literate? Like we should just be more open to everything. Like I'll listen to, I don't care what you got. If what you got is good, I'm listening to it.
Yeah, 100%. Something might surprise you. Like I've been exposed to hardstyle lately and I've just been like, this is the shit. Like just so energy and hype, fast paced. And I'm like, it's too good to be denied. Like just, it's just, I can appreciate and get down on a lot of stuff. So yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Luke Vinland, I will let you go. Thank you so much for your time and for the chat. I look forward to seeing you perform at Dark Force Fest. All right. Thank you, my friend. This was a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me. We're playing Sunday at Dark Force Fest.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your evening, and we'll talk again soon.
You too, sir.
Void Signal enter courtesy of Processor. Visit processor2.bandcamp.com for more Processor. Void Signal is powered by people and ad-free. Visit voidsignal.net or patreon.com/voidsignal to support the Void Signal project. Stay safe, stay loud, and follow Void Signal on the socials.